As I'm sure you're aware of, you cannot have too many tools in your garage. There's no doubt about it. One way or another, you always are looking for the right tool, the right wrench, the right socket. Well, today I want to talk about a few things that I have found that's worked out excellent for the Vette. Some things that I've had for a long time, but find out I've been using them more and more with the Vette. One of the first things I want to show you is these little, I'm not exactly sure what you call them, but they're like a little grabber. On the end of this, that has where the pinchers come out and you can lock on the stuff. It really works out well with the tight, almost everything on the Corvette. It's so tight. So dropping something is not uncommon. And you can reach down and pick that up with these little prongers right there. Now this is a long one and then this is a shorter one, but they both work the same. Now when I was taking the gauge unit out of the Corvette, I found that, there's the spots on there, if anybody's done this or know what I'm talking about, that you have the bolt that goes way back in and locks on. So you get your socket in there and your socket will not necessarily hold the bolt. You get it loose and then you worry like heck to pull it all the way out and not drop it. Now I've seen a couple of guys that's done that and they dropped it. It's easy enough to do. That's where this magic comes in, where I use this. You can actually, once you loosen it up, you take this in there, grab a hold of that nut, and then now you can just screw it and pull it out at the same time. Works like a second hand for you for sure. And of course, when I put it back in, I did exactly the same thing. And then you can go right in back in there and screw that in. Does that make it nice? No chance of dropping it. You're fully under control. It works great. And once you get in there snug enough, you can almost pull it until it gets loose enough to tighten. And you really can feel it gets tight. You know when you're there. Then you can unlock it, put the socket in there, and pull it out, and away you go. Now I'm going to show you a couple other things too that I think might really help when you're in a spot that you may be able to use it. Here's another thing that I think would come in real handy, and it's an infrared temperature gauge. It works out really, really nice because you can take temperatures on different spots around in your engine bay and any other place you want to check the temperature. Tires even sometimes coming back. If you have a tire that's pretty hot and you think maybe it's rubbing or something, that'll work. It's pretty simple to use too. I mean, obviously you push the button, you read the dial, have it Celsius or Fahrenheit, and it also has whether you want the laser, if you want the laser or not. And of course, I like the lasers. That way you can see right exactly where you're shooting at. And then, or you can have the light on here, depending on how you're doing it, dark or night. It works out really, really pretty well. Simple to use, 9-volt battery, not expensive. But boy, have I used this a lot. I have used this, like, let's say, well, I tell you what, I'm going to go over it. My car's cold, so it's not fired up where we're going to see temperature. But I'll show you where I use it most often and how it can maybe help you too. So let me do that. I often use this infrared temperature gauge, especially after I've done a hard run and I'm coming back home, pull in the garage, I pop the hood, and I will check this, see the temperatures and what we have. I'll check the intake at the top here, and see what that is. I will check above them the valve covers. I may even check the air conditioner pump. Any of those things I will check just to make sure, kind of get a feel. I'll also check the radiator hose, see if that temperature for the radiator hose is close to my gauge inside. I'll check any one of these individual areas to make sure you kind of get used to that's about this temperature and that's about that temperature, so you can kind of know when something's a little high or a little low. One of the key places that I have used it, I had a miss once, and I couldn't tell what cylinder might be missing. So what I did is after a hard run, or at least a run, when I came back, I checked each one of these on the manifold. I checked each cylinder at that point to see what the temperature is compared to one, compared to the other. And when I found a real cool one, I was pretty sure that's where my problem was. So then I started checking the wires and so forth to find it. And it was a wire, but it took me a lot longer to try to find that wire with popping it and so forth. Very clean, works really well. And you remember, you can use this not just in the engine bay, anything you need to tell temperature. It's also a really good idea to actually check the temperature of your bearings on your car wheels. And that would tell you a lot too. Even your tire heat may be higher than normal for something. Maybe it's dragging, maybe the brake's sticking, something's happening when the temperature doesn't stay the same. So it's a handy item to have, cheap insurance. The next thing I want to show you is a stethoscope. Yep, a stethoscope. If you haven't heard of these, this is an ideal thing to use to be able to find that little tick, the little noise, whether it's a tappet, whether it's a fan that's going bad, a bearing somewhere is going bad. You really have a hard time locating that just by ear. Now, years ago, the big was just taking a screwdriver, having that hold on to the wherever different spots around the motor, and put your ear down there to the screwdriver, and you could hear it. That's a little risky. What we got here is a stethoscope that goes in your ears, so you got a good solid contact, and then you can reach and touch the areas you want to check on the engine. If you think it's the tappet, check on the top of the valve covers, and you can be able to hear even sometimes down to what tappet is a little loose on the top. We're going to take a look how I use it. Let's take a look at that. Okay, I'm ready to take you around where you can tap and show you how easy this is and how far I stay away and still be able to hear. I put these in my ear just like I would, and I'm ready to go with this. I even have a little holder here, so I hold it back behind there, and now I just tap where I want to go. The sensitive part, I put it on the valve cover, and I can hold it there to hear the motor. I can hear it here to hold the motor, and you go along like that, and you'll see where the different tappets might be making some noise. Another good thing is you can hit on your air conditioner unit and find out how much noise is coming out of that. And of course, you always can hear the air pump there always makes a little noise. I can't help that. And you can check your alternator. You know, you can walk all the way around the car. You can check your alternator. You can check any place else you think is moving parts. Even sometimes like this, you can hear something, the valve click in and out. Now, here's one that I found. And then when I first started up, every year it seems like I get some noise out of my tensioner here. And I'm pretty sure it's like one of those times you hear the clicking. I can't tell where it's coming from. And then I think it's from the air conditioner. So I check the air conditioner thing here, and it's not. It's from here. So I know sooner or later, that's probably the next thing I'm going to replace. But the interesting part, it only has happened when I started up in the spring after all winter sitting. So whatever it does, and maybe a little oil and I'm done. But you can see the value of having one of these stethoscopes working. You know, there's probably nothing more important on the C4 Corvette is the battery. The battery seems to be the one thing that almost every Corvette owner, one time or another, has told me that they lose it overnight, their battery goes down easy. And it's important for our computer and everything else to work, especially in these early generations, that they get 12 volts on a constant basis. So keeping your battery charged is really important. I use this C-Tech. Now, what makes C-Tech so special? Well, this is the same battery charger, same company anyway, same size, same voltage, same everything that they put in the C7 Corvettes when they came out. So that said a lot to me. If it's good enough for the C7, it's good enough for a C4. So that, and there's nothing to it. I won this, as you can see, in a solid basis. So I can have it ready to go. I can put the charger on anytime I want. If I'm not going to drive for a few weeks or even a week or so, I would make sure the battery is fully charged. And, you know, the connections are easy, snap on. And of course, I use this for all winter. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is a couple items that do battery checking. It checks your battery. This is a battery checker that actually tests your battery to make sure the battery is producing the amps that it was registered to do so. So it's very minor. I won't go through it now, but it's very easy to plug it in. You check it up to there. Screen comes up, and you can answer the questions by going through it. And it tests your battery under load, which you can take a meter and check your voltage, and that doesn't necessarily mean that your battery has got the amps that it's supposed to have. And that can really lead you to misguide you in why your Vette won't start, because it's not getting actually the amps that it's supposed to have to make it start. And that's about the only way I know of to be able to check and make sure. The other thing I have in here is an OB2 gauge here, but you know what? It doesn't work for our Corvettes, of course, the early ones like the C4, 85. I don't think until 1996 that OB2 came out to use, but my other cars do have that, and I use it whenever I have a check engine light on. I kind of get a feel for what it's going to be before I'm in trouble. But anyway, if you don't have one of these two or both, I would suggest the battery one for sure, because on our Corvettes, and that's what I'm talking about today, they are touchy on the battery. They need 12 volts and they need good amps. So something to keep in mind.